Adolf Hitler. Yeah, he's pretty scary, isn't it? If you weren't aware, Adolf Hitler is, he's a pretty bad guy. Leader of Nazi Germany, best-selling author, and an accomplished painter, but did you know that he was also a television star? Where did he find all that time? Hal, Honey, I'm Home, a British sitcom that aired in 1990. The show was about Adolf Hitler and Eva Braun's life living in Berlin next to their Jewish neighbors. Yeah, talk about an odd couple. The show was created by a man named Jeff Atkinson, an accomplished writer for big British comedy shows like Two Ronnies and Spitting Image. I don't know anything about British television, so this means nothing to me. As far as I'm aware, these could be completely fake. Atkinson met with an independent production company called Nolgate TV. It's a tough name if you ask me. Jeff told the producers that he was playing around with an idea of a sitcom starring Hitler, and somehow that piqued their interest. When asked what the show would entail, he answered that question with another question. How do you deal with a bully? See, Atkinson believed that the worst thing you could do to a man as terrible as Hitler would be to turn him into a joke. Now, in my opinion, the worst thing you could do to a man as terrible as Hitler is splatter his brains all over the wall, but I guess we differ on opinions there. Nolgate TV jumped on the opportunity and 8 episodes were produced, but only one has ever seen the light of day. It has since been called the world's most tasteless situation comedy by television historian Marianne Calabro, but frankly, what the f*** does she know? I want to find out for myself if this show was really all that tasteless. See, I'm a man of impeccable taste. I've seen Breaking Bad at least 6 times. I'm pretty much a professional film critic. But before we get into talking about the actual episode, I want to get into how this show was even created.
You must be real mad at me, honey. I'm a very, very bad Hitler.
The first step was finding the perfect people who would bring the show to life. I wonder how that goes. That's got to be an awkward casting call. Yeah, we would love to have you come in and audition for our new show. You've got the look. You would be perfect. What's the role? Oh, it's nothing. It's just Hitler, you know? It's no big deal. Caroline Gruber was originally casted to play Eva Braun, but she said as a Jewish woman, she didn't want to play that evil bitch. So she was instead given the role of Rosa Goldenstein, Eva and Adolf's female Jewish neighbor. Gruber said that she liked the premise of the show, but on one condition, that the Jewish characters were played by actual Jewish actors. A similar situation happened with Gareth Marks, who is Jewish and was originally casted as Adolf Hitler himself, but instead played Rosa's husband, Arnie. The rest of the cast was rounded out by Danica Fairman, who played Eva Braun in the pilot, but was later recast for being too tall. I guess there are worse reasons to be fired. I lost my last job because I couldn't stop telling dead baby jokes. I mean, come on, why would you hire me at Planned Parenthood? And the man of the hour, too sweet to be sour, Neil McCall was cast as the one and only Adolf Hitler. Neil was also in Romeo and Juliet, and I don't know what to say about that, but I feel like I wouldn't be able to sleep at night if I didn't tell someone. Oh, and Patrick Cargill, a very accomplished character actor of over 40 years, made his final on-screen appearance playing Neville Chamberlain in the pilot. That's a tough role to go out on, isn't it? Better than Romeo and Juliet, I guess. As soon as filming began, it was immediately met with criticism. The Jewish Chronicle actually called up Gareth Marks and asked him how could he do such a show as a Jewish person. To which Gareth responded with, they hadn't even seen the show yet. How could you ridicule something that you haven't seen? Well, I haven't seen slugs have sex, but I can imagine it's not a pretty sight to see. This interaction bothered Gareth so much that he invited his father, famed comedy actor Alfred Marks, to a taping. Alfred gave his son his blessing, telling him to not worry about the media because this was one of the funniest things he's ever seen. But I gotta be honest with you, what does this guy know about comedy? You need to leave these things up to a true critic like me, which, speaking of, why waste any more time? Let's get into the actual episode titled Piece of Our Time.
And unless Arthur Lowe defeats him, the man himself in a few moments in Heil Honey, I'm Home as the Galaxy Comedy Weekend continues.
The faithful pilot opens up with the theme song for Heil Honey, and I'm not gonna lie, it's kind of a bop.
Heil Honey.
Heil honey.
Heil Honey.
Heil honey.
Heil Honey.
Hello.
I'm home.
This shit's been stuck in my head all week. I've been humming Heil Honey at work. You know what kind of weird looks I've been getting? Hitler makes his first on-screen appearance, which gets a standing ovation from the audience, and that is certainly a sight to see. Also, I just cannot stand these old school laugh tracks, man. They are so off-putting, as if I don't know when to laugh. Let me decide when to laugh. Hitler is late getting home for dinner, which upsets his wife, Eva Braun. Yeah, I think old Alfie's here done a few worse things than being late for dinner, but I'm not a history major. To cheer Ava up, Hitler grabs her from behind and says, "Here comes the tickle monster," before rubbing his little mustache on her neck. And I've just gotta say, that's one of the most terrifying things I've ever seen. And I've seen how Doritos are made. By the way, Hitler for ruining that mustache. That thing would go great with a low taper fade. Hitler tells Ava that the Prime Minister of England, Neville Chamberlain, is coming over for dinner because England is upset about Hitler invading Czechoslovakia. Well, I wonder why. Hitler makes Ava promise to not tell anyone, especially their nosy neighbors, Arnie and Rosa Goldenstein. Arnie and Hitler carpool to work together, and does Hitler not know that Arnie's Jewish? Is this supposed to tell us why Hitler becomes so anti-Semitic? If that's the case, I gotta be honest, it's a pretty cool plot point. Also, Arnie offers to pay for gas on the way to work, and there's a joke in there, but I'm not gonna say it. Rosa introduces Ava to her niece Ruth, who's just a sickly little girl, more of a Roomba than a person if you ask me. Ruth says that she's not having a good time in Berlin, and trust me girl, it's gonna get a lot worse for your people. You might want to get out while you can. Ava goes against Hitler's wishes and tells Rosa about the Prime Minister coming over for dinner. Now, Ava, if I were you, I wouldn't get on Hitler's bad side. I heard it doesn't end well. So Ava makes Rosa swear that she won't tell anyone, and they do like a Nazi salute to promise to each other, and it caught me way off guard. For a minute, this just felt like your regular terrible sitcom. Then all of a sudden, they're howling and hoeing, and it scared the shit out of me. Later on, Rosa tries to explain to Arnie who Neville Chamberlain is, and this is how I feel when I'm trying to explain politics to my parents. Okay, so do you know Vladimir Putin? No, do you know Russia? Europe. Asia? Rosa and Arnie then come up with a plan to set up Ruth with Neville Chamberlain. Yeah, I'm sure that the Prime Minister of England is having a hard time getting Rosa and Arnie come over to crash the dinner party, and seeing Adolf Hitler in a sweater is so weird. I guarantee this dude never wore a sweater, probably never even owned one. The only time Hitler ever sweat was in a bunker on April 30th, 1945. The Goldensteins won't leave Hitler's apartment, so Ava comes up with a plan to get them pissed drunk so they're forced to go home. Or, you know, you could just ask them to leave, or tell them you're the Fuhrer. Hitler's never had a problem with communication before. God, he had such a way with words. Okay, there's an actual competent joke in this show, and I gotta be honest with you, I wasn't expecting it.
Hi, Hitler here. No, Bob Hitler. Who do you think?
I mean, that was pretty good, I'm not gonna lie. You gotta give Hitler credit where credit is due. I never thought I'd say that. Hitler goes to pick up Chamberlain from the airport, and we watch as the Goldensteins get progressively more drunk, and we even get a sick yo mama joke.
Who's this?
Gee, I win. Wonderful party. Good night.
It's your mother.
My mother is not a monkey.
Hitler and Chamberlain come back, and Adolf is mad that the Goldensteins are still there. Ava tells Hitler that it's actually a good thing that the Goldensteins are there, because it'll make Hitler seem like just a good, down-to-earth person. She tells him that he doesn't want it to get out that Adolf Hitler was rude to his neighbors. I mean, I think he's got more problems than that one, sweetie. Neville gives Hitler the Munich Agreement, saying that Hitler has been a very naughty boy for all this Czechoslovakia nonsense. The nonsense in question is Hitler invading Czechoslovakia in 1938. Quick history lesson, folks. The Munich Agreement was an agreement that allowed Germany to keep the part of Czechoslovakia they have invaded as long as they promise not to invade Europe. I mean, we all know how well that aged, right? What a dumb agreement. It's like people who get into a relationship with a cheater and then are surprised when they get cheated on. I mean, are you really that stupid? Come on, Neville, baby, you know better than that. Hitler is mad about the agreement and throws it in the fridge, saying that you invade one little country and now everyone's on your back. I'm with you on that one, Hitler. I mean, you sleep with one guy at a place called the Manhole and suddenly you're gay. I mean, what's up with that? I hate to admit it. I really hate to admit it. But a second joke has hit the towers.
What do you say to a small drink?
Hello, small drink.
Arnie goes to grab food out of the refrigerator and he finds the Munich Agreement all balled up, which pisses Neville off. Chamberlain accuses Hitler of refusing to sign the agreement, to which Hitler responds with, "Me? Well, I'm just another one of the boys. I'm a real fun guy." Yeah, the only fun guy that Hitler is close to is Black Mold. Rosa and Arnie then spill the beans that Hitler is stockpiling weapons and planning to invade Poland. Couple of bitch-ass snitches if you ask me. Adolf then kicks the Goldensteins out of his house finally. Should have done that 3 hours ago. Neville then calls Adolf a very naughty little Hitler, which guilt trips Adolf into signing the agreement. Yeah, I'm sure that little piece of paper isn't going to age like milk in, about 2 years. Neville happily leaves, and Adolf and Ava finally relax on the couch together, thus ending the only episode of How, Honey, I'm Home. Now that pilot episode aired on British Satellite Broadcasting's Galaxy Channel on September 30th, 1990. According to Atkinson himself, the premiere was only watched by a few thousand people, which is probably a good thing, to be honest. Much of the hubbub had died down by the time that the pilot aired, but news of the controversial new show had made its way to the United States, with an article published by the LA Times that questioned, is this show dangerous? Dangerous? No, about as dangerous as a newborn baby kitten with cataracts, but stupid? Yeah. Now listen, I'm not someone who points fingers and goes, that's offensive, you can't say that. I love offensive humor, and I think this show could really work if it was on a more risque network like Adult Swim. But this show was defended by the cast and creators as a way to make fun of Hitler, and in my opinion, they don't really do that. Hitler is still Hitler. Nothing's really changed. I mean, yeah, he's a dumb character in a sitcom, but he's still the Fuhrer. What a dumb name. The Führer. I'm the Führer. What a dumb name. If I was in that position, I'd be God King of the universe, and you will refer to me as such. So what happened to the rest of the episodes? Well, after the negative press of the pilot, the show was completely shaken up. For starters, a new American showrunner was brought in to oversee Atkinson and amend his scripts. The new showrunner apparently downplayed everything to do with Nazis, World War II, or the Holocaust. They even apparently took the Jewish neighbors out of the show entirely. Caroline Gruber said that by the time the American showrunners were done with the scripts, they were writing episodes about Hitler building shelves. Yeah, I'm sure that would be exciting. And after all these changes and butting heads with the new American showrunner, series creator Jeff Atkinson released control of the project. And just a few short weeks later, the entire production was shut down, but not for the reason that you might think. It wasn't the controversy that caused the show to be canceled. It was actually the fact that British Satellite Broadcasting had been bought by Sky Television in November of 1990. Sky made a commercial decision to focus on United States-based comedies rather than controversial homegrown shows. Which is what I would say too if I got caught making a sitcom about Hitler, to be honest. Well, the question still stands. Does this deserve to be known as the most controversial television show of all time? Well, that's a difficult question to answer in my opinion. Like I said earlier, if the main point of this show was to make fun of Hitler, then it fails tremendously. I mean, comparing this to something like Jojo Rabbit's depiction of Hitler or the producer's depiction of Hitler, I mean, there's no real comedy at the sake of Hitler here. Hitler is still the evil person that he is in real life, he's just kind of funny now. However, in my opinion, Hitler isn't the main target of satire in this show. It's sitcoms. How, Honey, I'm Home is making a point that you can make a sitcom starring Hitler and it still works. Because sitcoms are stupid to begin with. That's the message behind this show. It's not fuck Hitler. It's a commentary on how terrible and complacent television shows had become by the 90s. Every show was just lazy, poorly written, and filled with so many laugh tracks that you thought you forgot to take your medicine this morning. And when you look at it from that perspective, I think this show does a really good job. It really hits home what I've been saying for the past 36 years. Sitcoms filmed in front of a live studio audience are typically bad. Now, of course, there are the outliers. There's Fresh Prince. I love Fresh Prince. Not gonna lie, big fan of Cheers. Big fan of Cheers. Seinfeld's got its moments, but that's 3 in the sea of cookie-cutter complacent sitcoms that were coming out in the 90s. I mean, if someone genuinely tells you that Friends is funnier than Always Sunny, then you need to report those people to Homeland Security, because that's probably a terrorist. I'm such a Rachel. Oh, and you're such a Joey. Okay, Osama bin Laden. Oh, you can say a lot about this show, but you can't say that they didn't take a risk. I think that's something that's missing from modern media these days. Everyone's doing the same thing. Music, movies, television, it's all what's been done before. I mean, just look at me. I'm a white guy standing in front of a green screen talking about weird television shows and movies. I'm as original as they get.